saw again what I had seen. I became conscious. I recognized what I had seen. I recognized again what I had seen before. I perceived. I perceived again what I had perceived before. I became conscious. I recognized again what I had again perceived.
I looked.
I saw objects.
I looked at objects shown to me.
I pointed at objects shown to me.
I learnt the names of the objects shown to me.
I named the objects shown to me.
I learnt the names of objects that could not be shown.
I learned.
I retained.
I retained the signs I learned.
I saw the shapes that had been named.
I named similar shapes with the same names.
I named the differences between dissimilar shapes.
I named absent shapes.
I learned to fear absent shapes.
I learned to desire absent shapes.
I learned the words to wish and to fear.
I learned. I learned the words. I learned the verbs. I learned the difference between to be and to have been. I learned the nouns. I learned the difference between the singular and the plural. I learned the adverbs. I learned the difference between here and there. I learned the indicative pronouns. I learned the difference between this and that. I learned the adjectives. I learned the difference between good and evil. I learned the possessive pronouns. I learned the difference between mine and thine. I acquired a vocabulary.
I became the object of sentences. I became the attribute of sentences. I became object and attribute of main and subsidiary clauses. I became a movement of the mouth. I became a string of letters.
I spoke my name.
I said I.
I crawled on all fours.
I ran.
I ran towards something.
I ran away from something.
I stood up.
I left the passive mode.
I became active.
I walked at an approximately right angle to the earth.
I jumped.
I defied gravity.
I learned to perform my natural functions outside my clothes.
I learned to control my body.
I learned self-control.
I became obliged. I became obliged to obey the historical rules of men. I was obliged to perform actions. I was obliged to desist from actions. I was obliged to let things happen. I learned rules. As a metaphor for the rules, I learned what the catch was to each rule. I learned rules of behavior and of thought. I learned rules external and internal. I learned rules for things and for human beings. I learned general and particular rules. I learned rules for this world and the next. I learned rules for air, water, fire, and earth. I learned the rules and the exceptions to the rules. I learned the basic rules and the rules derived therefrom. I learned the meaning of ought. I became capable of human society.
I became obliged. I became capable of eating with my own hands. I became obliged to avoid soiling myself. I became capable of adopting the manners of others. I became obliged to avoid my own ill manners. I became capable of distinguishing between hot and cold. I became obliged to avoid playing with fire. I became capable of distinguishing between good and evil. I became obliged to avoid evil. I became capable of playing the game according to its rules. I became obliged to avoid infringing the rules of the game. I became capable of seeing the injustice of my actions and of acting in accordance with this insight. I became obliged to avoid misdeeds. I became capable of using my sexual capacity. I became obliged to avoid the misuse of my sexual capacity. In my my sins, I gave birth to death. Through sin, I made myself the equal of the cattle about to be slaughtered, yet still smelling the iron by which it is to be slaughtered. I did not resist beginnings. I did not find the time to stop. I made myself an image of the All-Highest. I did not want to make myself an image of the All-Highest. I suppressed the name of the All-Highest by being silent. I believed in the three persons only of grammar.
I persuaded myself there is no All-Highest, so as not to have to fear him. I sought opportunity. I did not make use of opportunity. I did not follow necessity. I did not count on chance. I did not learn from bad examples. I did not learn from the past. I abandoned myself to the free play of forces. I came into the world. I became. I was engendered. I came into being. I grew. I was born. I was entered into the registry of births. I grew older.
I moved parts of my body. I moved my body. I moved on the spot. I moved from the spot. I moved from one spot to another. I was compelled to move. I was able to move.
I moved my mouth. I came to my senses. I made myself noticed. I cried. I spoke. I heard noises. I distinguished noises. I produced noises. I produced sounds. I produced notes. I produced notes, noises, and sounds. I was able to speak. I was able to shout. I was able to be silent.